Thank you for the introduction. Hello, everyone. A very good afternoon to you all. So I'll be covering in next 15 minutes some of the important aspects around the sustainability specific to petrochemicals, chemicals industry, and looking at some of the trends and how companies are reacting, to this unprecedented change which sustainability has brought for the chemical industry. So, sustainability per se is not a new topic, to the world, to the chemical industry, and to the other industries. However, there has been a shift in the focus. For example, in the 1916s, sustainability meant to be safety around the processes, of the environment of the people. The focus has more changed towards the pollutants as we go around in 1970s with the UN Conference on Human Environment, the Stockholm. Then in the next decade, it was more about CO2, and this was again, followed by a Kyoto Protocol, the COP15 meeting at Copenhagen, and slowly it has now shifted towards social and climate-related changes. So if you look at the last century, so the focus has shifted more from a regulatory compliance perspective to cost reduction, revenue, and now it is more to bring out the value to the society. And this is primarily in the recent decade has been majorly because of these three prominent trends. So one being the customer behavior. So now the customer is demanding more, in terms of environmental friendly and socially responsible products. And this is evident from the fact, that people googling and twittering more about plastic waste recycling. And what that actually means for a business is the customer is now wising up to companies that are more organized in terms of your environmental as well as responsibility that it has for its customers. Secondly, with a lot of digital interventions, a lot of new tools and systems, which were initially quite costly, has now become cheap and economical, which has brought a technology wave, in almost all the industries. And this is now have opened opportunities in terms of innovation and energy efficiency, when it comes to operating your businesses. And thirdly, the climate change and resource scarcity. As we all know that, specific to chemical industry, we are more dependent on the crude oil feedstocks as well as biomass and other resources. The overall industry is having a challenge of resource scarcity. We are digging more and utilizing it, as well as there are stricter environmental regulations which also needs to be complied. And this in a way is changing how the businesses were operated in the history and how these are being operated today. And looking from a chemicals perspective, so the chemical industry is quite well positioned when it comes to responding to such trends. And it is because of its nature, of catering to different end use industry, be it automotive, be it, consumer goods, packaging, construction industry, industrials, chemical industry with the molecules it provides to its end use customers, which in a way helps to develop their products and innovate it. So we believe that chemical industry is really well positioned to respond to these trends and also create a value. For example, there are different levers, when it comes to such a business model. And I think this is why the traditional linear model has, now developed into a circular business model, which has got your all the elements, right from sourcing some good sustainable feedstock, renewable feedstock. We have seen companies using bio-based, renewable feedstock, you know, uh, such as BSF and other companies, coming up with polyamides, bio-based polyamides, chemicals, etc. There is a lot around process and product innovation, in terms of circularity, recycling chemical products, in terms of transparent E2E supply chain, a lot of digital, tools and are being implemented to enhance the visibility around the supply chain. A lot of product substitution, process efficiency increasing, a lot of integrated solution and platform are being tested and implemented. And this in a overall picture is gives us a feeling, gives us a confidence that chemical industry is well positioned to address to this strict regulations and with developing new sustainable solutions. So this is one of the an interesting survey which PwC did in 2019, the 23rd annual global CEO survey. And here we see that around 58% of the global CEOs mentioned that they would be prioritizing investments around circular economy and sustainability aspects around their businesses. And this definitely has got a value which can be summed up in four different ways. So sustainable companies with right reporting, with right mindset, can brings more trust to the customers which it caters to. There are a lot of opportunities which can also be addressed in terms of providing sustainable solutions, enabling sustainable solutions. Circular economy plays technology innovation, brings in a lot of opportunity for growth for such companies. There is lower risk when you comply with the regulations, when you have responsibility in terms of responsible supply chains, managing the compliances, and also there is a lower cost when it comes to refinancing your businesses. Now investors are more keen to invest in sustainable businesses, and that's how it also creates value in terms of lower cost for refinancing. And there are examples around sustainable chemical industry already committing to such sustainability targets. For example, some of the leading companies have already committed to either reduce their GHG emissions, or cut down their water usage, or cut down their emissions, committing to net carbon. And this is not even globally, but also Indian companies are following this trend, and some of them have committed. And this is likely driven by the environmental regulations. Speaking more, on India, so recently the EPR regulation has come up, which mandates, the polymer processors, importers, brand owners, to comply with certain norms of recycling. And definitely, the sustainable management aspect has an important aspect, an important play in the overall sustainability game. And you see globally as well as in India, a lot of companies have come together to form alliances such as Alliance to End Plastic Waste. BSF with its chem cycling initiative is working around breaking down oil and gas products into valuable recycled products. There are again pure cycle technologies, an initiative of Neste and Pure Cycle, on propylene restorages. So that's how chemical industry has been responding to these changes, and a lot of commitments have been made. Today, I want to bring you an important aspect about this embedded fossil-based carbon, which usually remains invisible. So if you look around the major petrochemical feedstocks that derives all of majority of the chemicals, be it C2, C3, C1 value chains, you see about two-thirds of the carbon which is embedded in the product, in the feedstock, comes from a fossil-based fuel today. And on the right-hand side, you see the petrochemicals demand is going to increase globally, in the range of 2.5 to 5%, and this is not in a way going to decrease. We will need petrochemicals. The problem is, can we take care of this invisible embedded carbon footprint? Because this is in a way going to help, the overall sustainability of the chemical value chains. And for this, I bring in an example, an exploratory example around e-methanol, which can be derived out of renewable carbon. So at present, definitely renewable carbon sources from biomass, bioethanol, paper and pulp, and other industries are being used, which typically contributes to around 15% of the supply chain. supply of non-fossil carbon. However, challenges in terms of inefficiencies with these sources. But if you look at renewable carbon from, say, a captured CO2 source, the opportunities are infinite. At present, it is at nascent stage, but the potential that it can bring to replace that embedded fossil-based carbon is tremendous and unlimited. So, taking an example of e-methanol as well. Based on a lot of research findings association and other institutes, so a renewable methanol produced from say CO2 captured from say a direct air capture or biomass energy integrated system get a reduction potential of around 60% in today's case, and it will further decrease when we see a widely decarbonized scenario. For example, for e-methanol, the raw materials will be CO2 and your green hydrogen. So when we see a net zero target, considering the base case of net zero target to be 2050, if we consider that widely decarbonized 96% of that carbon can be replaced with electricity, it can go until 100%. And this basic feedstock, is important as a case, and as well as in terms of the volumes at which India imports methanol or say its derivatives, acetic acid. Moreover, methanol as a fuel, has a volume density which is almost half of gasoline and diesel. And if you compare it with hydrogen, which is again a potential molecule, it has got 3x higher, volume density, which means that it is easy to transport and store, which do not require any cryogenic storage facilities or specialized containers. At present, technology levels are in the TRL level of 4 to 7. The investments are more or less same if you compare it with the syngas based technology. Again, 1 liter of methanol has more H2 compared to 1 liter of liquid H2. So this all brings actually to evaluate such opportunities to converting into chemicals, etc. Of course, the cost of this e-methanol we see to be higher at present, but with decreasing cost of renewable energy, decreasing cost of green hydrogen, it can be at par with the present syngas based or natural gas based methanol. Moreover, it will again, which India at present imports, tops the list of import. And
We are getting some network issues.
so this is one such example, and there are pretty more example if you look at hello.
Yeah, go ahead.
Rahul, can you hear me? Yeah.
There is some
So
network
we were
issue,
speaking
Nikhil.
about one case around business case which we practically seeing utilize the carbon captured and such. Okay, I'll just put off my camera.
Yeah, please
Can
go
you
ahead.
hear me now?
Yeah.
Yeah. So I was mentioning some other examples of using this CO2, which can be again renewable CO2, which can help in different applications, right from using it to manufacture building blocks, intermediates in chemicals, fuels, gasoline, diesel, etc. From carbonates and polymers, which I think some of the companies have already covered through. I think utilizing CO2 to manufacture polymers. And there are definitely some conventionally and commercially established end uses which will help consumers of these technologies. And again, I mean, development in technology and chemical applicability of sustainable solutions. And I believe now is the time to act, to address this unprecedented to the chemical ecosystem, and we see this happening in coming years. So with this, I would like to conclude and